and today I'm going to review a thing. Here's a question. Is it a good idea to bring back a dead or cancelled show? Possibly. This question popped into my brain around October when I read that Raven-Symoné announced that there will be a That's So Raven sequel series, or a reboot of the whole series. That's So Raven, if you don't know, was a early 2000s Disney Channel show that starred Raven-Symoné, and she had the ability to see into the future. She confirmed that the show is going to be focusing on her character, Raven, as a mother now dealing with a child who also has the same ability. It's actually not surprising that a show that focused on a teenager is coming back years later, and now that teenager is the mom who's dealing with her life as being a mother. That's not the first time a reboot like this has happened. We already have something like Fuller House, which is on Netflix. And it's gonna stay on Netflix, because that's bad. So I'm not saying that the That's So Raven reboot is a bad idea, but it got me thinking, is it the right show to bring back? And that made me think about all the other shows that are canceled that do deserve maybe to come back, but also shows that don't. Because it seems that the people behind television get the wrong idea when they think of the word reboot. There are only two types of shows that would get rebooted. Either a show that got canceled out of nowhere, or a show that has permanently ended. The obvious choice would go with a show that was canceled out of the blue. A show like My Name is Earl, where it ended on a cliffhanger, would definitely be a show to consider bringing back. It had a very big fan base, it ended on a cliffhanger which left a lot of people asking questions, and it was indeed a very funny show. But keep in mind that whatever kind of show you decide to bring back, you need to consider the following things. You need to make sure that the people that were in the show originally are up for coming back and reprising their roles. Whether it's a live-action show or even an animated show, you have to see if the original people that were on board with the show at first are on board for the revived series. And if they're not, well, then it can be a challenge. If it's an animated series, it's not that big of a challenge because you can obviously just find other voice actors. Live action, however, is a bit different. If you don't get the original cast members that need to be in the show in order for you to continue the story, then there really isn't a chance for you to bring the show back at all. In fact, you might as well just cancel the idea. So shows that were just canceled out of the blue are obviously a good choice to revive and reboot, but then you have the people that decide to bring back a show that ended perfectly. And this has happened before. Shows have ended perfectly fine, and they were brought back years later for no reason. I mean, there was an obvious reason. It was either because A, people just wanted to make money because the show was very popular, or B, because the fans just loved the show and wanted to see more. Sometimes if a show ends, you should probably keep it that way. You shouldn't continue the story if it ended perfectly. I saw the last episode of the cringy show known as Full House, and I don't know, I remember that nice speech that was made at the end. I think the show ended pretty fine. And then we get this. We get Fuller House, where it focuses on the grown-up children dealing with their kids now. And Bob Saget is rarely in it. Yay! Did that win any awards? It shouldn't have. Sometimes the creators of the show purposely make an end for the show because there's really no more story that they could tell of those characters, of the story plot, of anything regarding that one show. A perfect example would be Gravity Falls. Now, if you're a big fan of the show, you'll probably know that it ended early last year, and the show actually ended a bit quick to all of our surprise. It only had 2 seasons and 41 episodes, but the creator Alex Hirsch said it himself that he felt like that he told as much of the story as he could. He did, however, say that he is open to bringing back the show in maybe like a special or something, which is completely fine, but I don't see him bringing back the show whatsoever regarding a new season or anything. Everybody wanted a season 3 for Gravity Falls just because it was that memorable, funny show that a lot of people liked. But the way that ended in season 2 kind of gave it its own little send-off into the end. So it definitely had a good ending, and I don't really see a need for there to be an extra season. That's not saying that I'm not up for a Gravity Falls special, like maybe a Christmas special or something. That would be pretty interesting. One last thing to wrap it all up with. The main thing that you gotta remember when bringing back a show is that you have to figure out if anyone will in fact watch it. And that depends on how long the show has been off the air. If you have a show that ended in 2001 and want to bring it back to, let's say, now, there's a good chance that you're not going to have the same audience as when you did when the show first aired. Obviously, because times have changed and people get older, and sure, you can give the show to a new generation, but you also have a good chance of losing what you originally had that made the show funny or interesting in the first place, and having a bad reputation on that specific part of the series. Much like to SpongeBob, where it just keeps going on, and the first couple of seasons are good, and there's a big chunk where it's just a big mess. The new ones aren't that bad. They're alright. So, to answer the question, is bringing back a dead show a good idea? Possibly. It does depend on what kind of show you want to bring back, how it ended originally, and if everyone is up for it. Again, if you don't have anybody up for this revival of the show, if it's live action, there's a good chance that you're not going to be able to pursue that goal. Though if it's an animated show and no one's up for it, you can obviously replace them because it's animated. It doesn't matter what their faces look like, it just matters what voice they have. So that's a little question that I had in my head. That's just a little discussion that I wanted to have. Now I want to open it up to you guys on what you think about reboots. What do you think about the whole idea of rebooting, and what kind of shows do you think deserve to get rebooted and not rebooted? So what favorite shows of yours do you think should be rebooted? If I had to pick a show that would get rebooted, I would definitely say Invader Zim, because I find the show very amusing. I don't really talk about it that much, but I probably should. I do watch Invader Zim sometimes when I get the chance when it's on TV. I definitely think that deserves to come back. Do you agree, disagree, think that I said in this video? Tell me in the comments, and also leave me your suggestions for whatever movie, TV show, or anything you want me to talk about next. Thanks for watching The Wild Review. I'm The Wild Reviewer, and you just saw me review a thing.